Welcome back, guys. Today we're joined by our good friend, Huston.
What's up, guys? Happy to be here. Happy to be in this beautiful podcast room.
Yeah, this room just got finished from moving to the new building, and it is.
I'm not going to lie. At first, I thought we would just sit down and we'd be talking about all kinds of turbo stuff. But at the beginning of this video, you got to see, these guys did a great job on putting together this room. A lot of time and effort. Looks great. It's going to make it so that way we can bring all the content to you guys more easily and a lot more of it.
I'll drink to that. Cheers.
Cheers.
Prost.
Prost.
By the way, we are not sponsored in any way by Coca-Cola. It's just, it's what was in the fridge downstairs in the break room.
That's right.
To be honest.
Don't want to be accused of product placement.
No cease and desist, please. Please don't send them.
Oh, yeah. Well, if we keep the can in the same spot, I can blur it out, right?
Yeah.
You know. Man, so this week has been crazy. We got back from UCC, and I spoke with Charlie. I think we're going to do a recap next week.
Yeah.
Kind of do everything that went on. I mean, you were there at UCC.
It was a lot of work, dude. Lot of work. Getting there, setting up 3 long days in the booth, getting rained out on Saturday, blowing up the engine. Well, blowing up the engine and then blowing it up kind of again the second time during the sled pull. But we made it to all 3 events, so that counts.
Heck yeah, we did.
You know?
Yeah. The nitrous mishap on the dyno. I'm sure Charlie will give us all the rundown next week. But oh, what a mess! But it was great. It was great to see everyone, like all you guys out there, meet everyone. You know, got to talk to a lot of people. Met some great, influencer people. So it's always nice to sit down and catch up with them. You know, shout out Tyler Hewitt, JH Diesel, all those guys. Great people.
It's like refreshing to see just friends and family of KC Turbos. Like they've been adopted in the family, and we in marketing, like we put stuff out there and whatnot, but you never know like what's going to hit, what's not going to hit. You never know what's going to affect. But part of our job is looking on social media, and we're always looking out there in the world. And it's funny when I'm going through reels or something, and I find this random person I've never seen, but they're like doing a tour of their truck, and they're saying all the mods, and they just like say, oh, it's got a KC Jetfire Stage 2, and they say it so proudly because to them it feels like a flex, and I'm like, what? That's what we've really tried to do. I mean, we try to put out a premium product. The amount of work that goes into releasing a product is wild, and we don't just put anything out there. We want something that it's our customers, when they buy it, they're like, this has a KC on it, and their friends are like, ooh, ah, and then they're proud of this. It's a big purchase, turbos aren't cheap by any means.
Nope. Yeah.
But what is the phrase? Like, you can't put a price on smiles.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this much. We may not be the fastest at coming out with new products, bringing the newest product, the latest and greatest to the market, but there's a reason for that. The reason for that is because we spend so much time dialing these things in. We spend as much time as we can troubleshooting them, torture testing them, doing all that we can so that when we finally bring that final product to the market, it's not just some thrown together cheap turbo. Like we put way too much time into these turbos before we release them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the story of the EcoBoost turbos that we just released, which we're super happy about. But I mean, that's a 3+ year project in the making, because we just went back and forth with the different sizes, trying to make sure that the first one that we bring to the market kind of tailors to anybody who wants the same drivability that they have right now with their stock turbos, but wants the ability to be able to push an extra 1 to 2, maybe even more than that horsepower out of their platform. So, and we did it. We did it. We finally brought it to the market.
It's finally live, guys.
Diesel.
Go buy a KC Reaper, please.
Please go buy a KC Reaper.
It was an incredible amount of work to bring it to market. Well, so along the KC Reaper, how it started. I mean, I was here when it started. It started 3 years ago.
3+ years ago.
Yeah. Back when you still had an EcoBoost, right?
Yeah, when I first started working at KC Turbos.
4 years. It's been 4 years.
Well, I had my EcoBoost right before we started because I came to KC Turbos with an EcoBoost F-150 because I was like, dude, yes. It was a 2013 and I was like, this is the natural progression. Like everyone else is a diesel person and like most guys at KC Turbos drive a diesel. Like most of them, some of the girls too, like we're all car guys and car girls. And so I wanted that, but then I had the opportunity to buy Charlie's old race truck and do a 6.0, and I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I did Tubby, but so that was before. But then this dude rolls around and rolls up in here and gets the same flack that I did.
Yep. So I came in with the F-150. It's actually kind of funny. So before I started working here, I was good friends with Charlie and Casey, and they talked about like me actually doing a build because Charlie was so excited about how much power those, F-250s could put out, the 6.0s specifically. And so he tried to convince me to actually buy an old beater truck, put the time and effort and money into making it into a really cool vehicle. And I was this close to doing it. And instead I was just like, you know what? I have an F-150 EcoBoost. This thing's really fun. I'm probably not going to put that kind of money in there right now and time and effort. And also, let's be honest, I have a good working truck. So came here, started, and I was like, wait a second. I start learning more about diesels. And then I learned it's a pretty simple equation. Air and fuel.
Yeah.
If you have the air and the fuel, guess what? Your power potential is already through the moon compared to a naturally aspirated
power,
vehicle.
baby. More power, baby.
That's right. And so as soon as I started learning those concepts, I was like, oh, I have one of those. And then I thought, well, the F-150 is one of the largest markets in the world for trucks. And it's got a 3.5 EcoBoost in it. And that's the largest portion of the market is the 3.5 EcoBoost. And so I was like, hey, Charlie, why don't we, let's make turbos for these things. And it was like, well, we're a diesel company. And I was like, no, we are a turbo company. And I was like, we've always done diesels, yes, but we're a turbo company. Like we should be doing this. So we started the project. And it has been going on for a long time. And it doesn't mean that we spent all that time just on the Reapers that we just released. It's because we also at the same time were working on the Gen 2 motor, working on turbos for that, looking at all of the different aspects of EcoBoost motors and figuring out where we wanted to go with it.
Ford Explorer ST.
Ford Explorer ST. We didn't say that just now, but who knows? That might be coming in the very near future as well. But it's been a hell of a time. It's been a headache. We've wanted to punch each other. Got to give a big shout out to Matt. Matt at Gearhead, he has been pivotal in all of this. He's he's probably done thousands of tune revisions now with us. But all of that because when we brought this Reaper Turbo to the market, we wanted to bring Gen 2 motor technology that's in those turbos down to the Gen 1 motor technology. And we wanted to be able to give something much better. So that's why you see that our compressor cover is a lot different. It's got all the Gen 2 technology built in there. Larger turbine housing, larger turbine wheel. We did all that because we worked so closely with Matt at Gearhead that it gave us the opportunity for bandwidth of just more knowledge. So
then for the guys who don't know, can you explain the difference on the turbos we just released, what they fit, what the generations are inside of the EcoBoost trucks, and then where we're at, and then what we got coming up?
Yeah. So you're going to hear the term, we have a Gen 1 motor, right? Gen 1 goes from 2011, and it goes all the way to 2016. Now, there might be some slight 17 models that crossed over that still have the 6-speed. That's considered a Gen 1 motor. But typically, 17 to 20 is going to be your Gen 2 motor with the different style turbo. Now, in the Gen 1 motor, you have two different style turbos. You have the 11 and 12 style turbo that has the has the blow-off valve built into the compressor cover. And then you have the 13 to 16, which has the blow-off valve, of course, down at the intercooler. So 2 different style turbos. We decided to attack the 13 to 16 models first because that's what I came to KC Turbos with, and we had the truck, and that's what we do, right? We don't go out and just buy a brand new one just because to waste money. We were like, well, how can we save money and still get something operational? So that's what we did. And it doesn't just work for the F-150s. You've also got the Lincoln Navigator as well as the Ford Expedition. The Ford Expedition goes from 2015 to 2017, I believe. I'll double check on those numbers, but basically there's a generation of the Expedition. And then there's a generation of the Navigator that takes these turbos. And then this is a really cool one, the Transit. So the Transit from 2013 all the way to current year, 2024.
Oh, that's a big that's a big range. I didn't even know that
he showed me that this morning. I was like, that's a lot of vans.
Yeah.
So, hey, you delivery guys, I'm talking to you, Amazon. You guys got to put these turbos in your Transits and get stuff done quicker.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Last mile transportation is about to cut in half.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in the marketing team, you guys are awesome, by the way. These guys spent a lot of time trying to come up with names, trying to come up with, well, how do we market these turbos? How do we do all that? Well, as you're doing the market research, you're going to see a lot of numbers out there. A lot of guys like to say that these are capable of up to 600 horsepower. What a lot of people don't realize is that 600 is actually at the fly or the crank, which is going to put you with your drivetrain loss and the other different types of parasitic loss. You're going to end up with somewhere around the 500 wheel horsepower mark. So that's what we did. Now, we didn't just want to bring something to the market that copied everybody else, which is why you don't see a 13 to 16 turbo that has the Gen 2 motor turbo technology in the Gen 1 turbo. We also we took some different pointers from people who are in like racing applications, like Baja racing, Raptor style type racing. And a lot of them want less boost and more airflow. So that's why we put technology into the turbine housing to make that larger so it would flow more, as well as we put a lot of technology into the turbine wheel itself. We did not keep a stock turbine wheel in there. That is a larger, better flowing, custom spec KC Turbo turbine wheel. And then we did the same for the compressor wheel, which most people do. But again, we didn't just do one aspect of the turbo.
There's a quote that I've self-quoted from Charlie, but I've heard him say it a number of times, is a compressor wheel can only do so much. The magic of a turbo comes from the turbine wheel. That's always stuck with me because, KC Turbos, our R&D, we always do the turbine wheel. That's the biggest. That's where the biggest R&D. That's what we're swapping out when we're doing 30 different turbos on the dyno. Like, we're pretty good at finding like, okay, this compressor wheel is going to work. The tweaking on the compressor wheel is like, okay, we got there. It's like, now let's dial this in. The sizing. There's a lot into it. So KC Reaper 500, capable of 500 horsepower.
At the wheels.
At the wheels.
At the wheels, yeah. I mean, realistically, it could go more. I mean, I don't think we are supposed to say that, but we want to see people test it because, because we've beat the living hell out of it.
We sure have. So, and the other thing that we didn't want to do is we don't want to come to the market and say, hey, you guys, we have the biggest, best. This is capable of 650 wheel horsepower. No, what we wanted to do was over-engineer a turbo for a lower horsepower rating, and we are going to do the same for the higher horsepower applications. So stay tuned. This is just the first turbo in this generation that will be released. We're going to be doing it to the others too. But we wanted to hit the people who are like, I want to do upgrades, but I want my turbo to still work the same as stock. That's what this gives you.
Still needs to be a truck.
Yep.
That's kind of how we started here at KC Turbos too, right? It was Charlie talking completely stock 6.0 turbo, just modify the compressor cover. And then that was his stage one, the Charlie turbo. And then that grew into, well, I kind of want something a little bigger. And then, well, what if I have these monster injectors? And then, well, what if I have this truck?
That's right.
And so, yeah, same philosophy for EcoBoost.
That's what we do. We try to go from stock, and then we try to find all of the bottlenecks along the way. So that way when a customer calls in, we are much more knowledgeable than somebody who just threw some specs together, hope that it looks good on paper, throw it out to the market, and then not know anything about the actual the build of what you're trying to accomplish. So, and that's what we did. So right now we're in the stage that we have for release turbos. We're around the 500 wheel horsepower mark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah. And like those bottlenecks too. I mean, I'm sure we carry all those parts, high pressure fuel pump, the in-tank pumps. I mean, what was the next, well, actually, what was the first thing that you saw for our testing? What was the first thing that needed to change?
Yeah, so the very first thing that you need to do is you need to put a tune on the truck, right? Yeah. There's no reason to put these turbos on if you're not going to tune the truck. You might get a little extra horsepower, but again, there's already a ton of power left on the table for these EcoBoost platforms that put some cold spark plugs in, get a tune on there, and you've already got anywhere from 50 to 100 wheel horsepower with just that. Yeah. So then once you've done that, you can actually start, your next bottleneck becomes knock, typically, for most of the engine. Most of the engines we're seeing that you hit knock limitations first. The only way to get around knock limitations is what? You got to have higher octane. How do you get higher octane if you have shitty 91 gas here in Arizona? Well, you start to blend some of your ethanol. Yeah. So, once you start blending, then you start to run into other bottlenecks. Your cold air intake is a plus. You can put on a cold air intake. That's going to help with your charge temperatures. You're also going to want to put on an intercooler, especially here in Arizona. You're going to want to put on an intercooler. Those are going to help with your charge temperatures, because charge temperatures equate to knock. Right? The higher the charge temperatures, the easier you're going to knock. So you have this balance of trying to make sure you have cold air. You want to have high octane, and that's how you're going to get power.
Maybe put a intercooler that's like roughly 80% larger than stock.
86%.
KC upgraded
brand
intercooler.
New KC upgraded EcoBoost intercooler available now.
The brand new KC intercooler available now.
Yeah, fits your 11 to 2024 EcoBoost F-150.
But seriously, it is
it's 2015 to 2024, and it's for the 3.5 and the 2.7.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
The more you know.
It's
14,
a monster.
14 and lower, you guys have the weird one.
Yeah.
We decided not to tackle that one first.
Just hack up your grill, put a front mount, real tall. It'll be fine.
So is there a way for people to find out where corn juice is near them? I'm sure there's a website. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just jump online and you can just type in ethanol gas station finder, and that'll give it to you. That's one way to do it. The other way to get more octane, well, you can always go and get race fuel, right? Yeah. You can always get race fuel. What's the name of the additive boost? Octane booster.
Yeah, octane booster.
There's different brands of octane booster you can put in. So that's how you're going to do it. But the key here is, as you are doing your build and trying to find out where your bottleneck is, each engine has a different health status, right? So each engine is going to hit a different bottleneck potentially than somebody else who's along the exact same path. So your key here is work with your tuner. Okay. Matt at Gearhead, phenomenal guy. He's extremely good at making sure not to push these things further than they are supposed to be pushed. He knows when to ramp in boost so that you don't blow up your motor. He knows all of the stuff around this. So work with your tuner, know what your next bottleneck is, and then just keep upgrading.
Yeah. I'm so excited because I drove there's a number of test vehicles. I drove the Raptor, and I got it right when you got it, when it was stock. Yeah. And 2015, 2016 Raptor, it's a good time.
2017.
2017. Oh, that's right. The Raptor's the 17.
The 17's the Gen 2 motor. That's when it started.
Yeah. So driving that, and then driving it after with the turbo, your gray truck, your OG truck, that one. I mean, let's be honest. Papa Boost is what we call it.
That's his name.
Papa Boost is the most gangsta of all the EcoBoost.
Yeah, for sure. It is so much fun.
Yeah.
Like 500 wheel horsepower is a conservative number. We have a very conservative dynograph, but we dipped into the 12s at the track with it. It is very, very quick.
Might have broken a transmission on the way, but
Yep. Didn't break the turbos though.
turbos are fine.
Those are great. One of the final tests that we did was we went and hot lapped the crap out of the truck, which is why we broke the transmission. Let's be honest. But we hot lapped it for at least 6 hours, just taking it around. Almost everyone in the company just taking it down the track, and the only thing that happened was the transmission.
It's probably the heat and then all the wheel hop because we were 2 foot launching off from the lights.
Yeah.
With how tall are your tires?
35s.
Yeah. So wheel hop.
Yep.
Not great.
Not great.
It's like, how many RPM to launch at? 3,000?
No.
1,500.
No.
3,000.
You got it, buddy.
Only pussies let out. No, that's how you break a tranny.
That's
or a
exactly
transfer case
how.
or an axle.
Been there. So then one of the final tests that we did for towing, because we needed to make sure that the towing on this was good. We did lots of different types of towing, but the final torture test of towing, I actually took one of the bigger, heavier Razor Pro Rs with a really big, heavy steel trailer, probably somewhere around 7,000 pounds or so. So not the heaviest load, but definitely enough. But this is the key: in Arizona temperatures of over 100 degrees, and I was doing 80 miles an hour going up from Phoenix, Arizona, up to Flagstaff the entire way in between 80 and 90 miles an hour. I was pushing these turbos like crazy, and they held up great. So they tow, and they are just phenomenal turbos.
Man, that's anybody who knows going from the Phoenix area to Flagstaff. There's some grades.
That is a torture test.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then in the heat, I mean, it does cool down up there, but like getting out of the desert, like it's hot. I mean, it's all of the conditions. Well, that's what I love about we beat the hell out of these because we know that our customers like to have a good time. They like to party, and we got to make sure that these are up for the challenge.
Yep.
There we go.
Exactly. Yeah, we know a lot of our customers like to really beat on our stuff. So take care of your turbo, change your oil, and keep at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just don't shut it down really hot. Like, don't hot lap the shit out of it and then shut it off.
That's never good for anything.
Yeah, just let it run for like a minute, 2 minutes. No big deal.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, well, thank you for coming down and sitting down with us. The Casey Reaper 500 is just the beginning, but man, there's exciting stuff happening in the EcoBoost world, and
sure is.
I'm excited to see you guys get out there and post,
tear it up.
Send us your content, send us your dynographs, your track times. I want to see. And you gotta do it all. Let us know how they daily drive. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Sure would.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it, guys. I always love coming and hanging out with you guys.
I mean, we're kind of just hanging out. So
awesome.
The filming's just a little extra.
Yeah.